Hey everyone, welcome to our special rerun of Geek'd Out. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Geek'd Out. I am your host, Carter Anderson. How are you guys all doing? Really glad to be back. We are back for another episode. This week we are going to be talking about one of my favorite Marvel movies, one of my favorite superheroes, Black Panther. Okay, I love this guy so much. This movie is important for so many reasons. One major reason, because he black, and yeah,
Right.
yeah, he black, and it's just an amazing superhero, and I don't even want to waste any time boasting about it. It's amazing. Let's get into the Black Panther. Let's talk about our first comic. Is a good friend of mine. I like this guy a lot. We're doing a lot of projects together. Give it up for Tremaine Bradley. Woo!
Yeah, you goddamn right. You goddamn right. This show getting blacker and blacker. Speaking of which, I got a Black Panther poster right over here. You know, this my Juneteenth wall. It's Juneteenth every day.
Oh yeah, Juneteenth 365, 24/7.
But thank you for having me though. I can't wait. And we have a lot of great people on this show. It only gets blacker and blacker. I love it.
It does. It does. It's like, I love that post on there. I think you might have posted it like every day I'm black, but on June 19th, Juneteenth, I'm blackity black.
Yes.
That was you.
That is so awful hearing it said out loud, but I definitely did say that. And congratulations on the new room. I see you got the Spider-Man post, the only Spider-Man that matters. God damn it, Miles Morales.
Oh, we're for sure gonna, you're gonna be on an episode of this, but we're definitely gonna do an episode about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Like
absolutely,
because that movie was amazing. The whole thing was just put together very well, and I don't know, and I just love how much it upset white people. People
just
really,
like this movie. Just like this movie. That's why like Black Panther, man, rest in peace.
Black Panther, Spider-Man, like Jesus is black, and so is Spider-Man. Okay.
Yep. Jesus had an Afro pick. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah. Y'all. You want some more wine or what?
I mean, hey, we got wine, we got Hennessy. What we doing? That's so ignorant.
Our next comedian, she had me on her show back in February before shit hit the fan. Give it up for Era Juliet. How you doing?
I am doing well, and yes, my Spider-Man is black, my Lambo is blue. What was that saying? How are y'all? What's going on? What is that's not the song lyrics? Am I wrong?
It is.
That's it. That is correct.
I'm laughing because we're the only ones that know this reference. No one watching this show is gonna get that reference.
Chris is like, huh?
That's so 2008. I like to think that I'm young, but 2008 is when, Barack Obama became president, and there was my president is black, my Lambo is blue. That was the thing. And now our Spider-Man is black.
Yeah, we're taking it. We're taking it all, man. I love that we took Ariel from them. I love that we took Little Mermaid. We made Little Mermaid black. I don't even give a fuck about Little Mermaid at all.
What's so funny about it is everybody's so colorblind, right? So are we really taking it? I mean, we're all the same on the inside.
I don't see color. I really don't. I gotta tell you, Carter. Hey, listen, Carter. You mind if I call you Carter? Carter, listen. Okay, I really, I just think we're all people. We're all God's children. We're all just honestly, we're all just one race. So we're I mean, really, I'm kind of black too. That's kind of what I'm just trying to say here.
We're all one race, Carter. But Ariel is white. I'm sorry. He may be all one race, but not Ariel. She is white. I'm sorry. You can't have her. I don't care who Barack Obama is in relation to you. You can't have.
Listen, okay? I mean, I've listened to Lizzo, okay? I enjoy him. I enjoy her a lot. She's a treat, She's my wife's spirit animal. Okay? I call her Lizzo in the bedroom. I know that's our love language, but you know, I just want you to know, you know, we're all the same, but Ariel is white, and Captain America is white too. God damn it! I won't have it. I won't have it. I won't have it in this house. It's a Christian house, sir.
I love watching that. I love watching like the incels and stuff on Reddit get mad. That is just like my porn, you know. Why that is we take everything, you know, back.
We really are. We really are. Like when I see all of the aggression and all of the anger, all of the hate, and all of the violence, I really do truly see it as for what it is. It's a Hail Mary. It's a Hail Mary. It is. It really is a Hail Mary. I was on Facebook and one of my friends posted this conversation she had with her ex-boyfriend who was a cop, and the guy was you know, we're all like being very vocal about the police right now. And he was basically saying, I'm so sick of you guys because you're saying all this stuff and telling people that they don't need the police and it's working. And I stopped listening after he said it's working. I was like, oh shit, that means it is. He's a cop. And so if anyone knows, this shit is getting fucked up from the inside. We're fucking it up, okay? Like the system, people think that like the system is broken. It's not. It's actually working exactly the way it's supposed to be. And we are now fucking it up. We have decided to upset the establishment. And you know, and that's really what this movie is about. Like it's about upsetting the establishment. You know,
I feel like every few years there's those movies that kind of are like they weren't supposed to be the ones that upset the establishment, but Black Panther was one of them.
Yeah.
I remember that people were so mad at Black Panther, like, you know, every race was because, and they were mad at Black people, like Hispanic people, like, why don't we have our Black Panther? I was like, y'all got the motion picture Dora the Explorer movie coming out next month. Don't worry about it. Like, we were the ones making the Marvel movies the whole entire time. I was like, y'all need to fight them. This is our time. Like, I don't want you not to have someone, but that's not Black Panther's fault.
Yeah, it's they'll get one. They'll get one. First of all, there's gonna be a Blue Beetle movie, and it's gonna be fucking amazing. Hopefully. Actually, I don't know. It might be terrible.
I love when people are like, they're like, hey, what if we had a White Panther? I'm like, you have Superman. Shut the fuck up. Like, you know what I mean?
Captain America.
They're like, what about a White Panther? Like, what if we decide to do that? Yeah, Chris is right. He said a Pink Panther. I'm like, fuck y'all. Y'all had the Pink Panther since like the 40s.
So y'all got Hulk, you got Captain America, you got Scarlet Witch, you got the Black Widow, you got Iron Man, you got
the worst part is president except for Obama. Like
the worst part is before we got Black Panther, what do we have? Still, we had goddamn Shaq. And y'all gonna say something to us?
Yeah, we Meteor Man and Blank Man.
No, I'm just joking. I know we had Meteor Man, but it's funny to think about. We had Meteor Man, which I love Robert Townsend, but then to follow that up, we had goddamn Shaq. Shaft is a superhero. You're right.
Shaft is not a superhero.
Hey, but he was he was super as fuck.
You didn't watch Blade?
No, Blade went. You right? No. I'm talking shit. You right, but I'm just trying to say.
I just rewatched Blade and I just rewatched the old Blade and Wesley Snipes.
Oh, I say it all the time. Look, there were 2 on full. I tell people all the time when that motherfucking movie came out, didn't no one say shit to Wesley Snipes. Why? Because
he going in them hills.
Right, he'll whoop your ass in them hills. Not you, but I mean anybody who talking shit.
Latin boy in drag.
Huh?
Little Latin boy in drag.
Oh yeah, he said, you a girl? There's a lot of that movie that is kind of problematic, but the movie still is great.
Yeah,
fantastic goddamn movie. And that's what I loved about it was that like you had Wesley Snipes. That's why people forget. They always talk about Denzel, but in the 90s, Denzel wasn't Denzel. Denzel didn't become Denzel until after Denzel had the waves on. It was in goddamn Training Day. Before Denzel, who was it? It was goddamn Wesley Snipes. There was nothing better.
Wesley Snipes is so like one thing I was watching when I watched Blade the other day was he was so, I mean, for that time, so dark. Like,
right. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He was very dark for screen. Like, he's not like that brown that they like to put on. Like, oh, we have a black person. I mean, he was black. Like, he's black. Like, he had that black leather, and it kind of melted in with his skin. Like, and I lived for it. I loved it. I was
agreed.
His skin was unapologetic.
Like, yes, but even the way that one thing I can say about Blade, even though we're not talking about Blade, is the way that
it's Marvel.
Yeah, it is. The way that it was filmed is good for like a lot of times when they film like dark black actors or photograph them, they don't have people that know how to match their skin tone well. But can I say,
oh my god,
for the 90s, he looked so good in everything, every scene, I was like, okay, someone had a crush on him when they were filming that movie.
This is the thing.
They made it for him.
Era, you're so goddamn right, because this is the problem. I talked about, I don't know if it was on Carter's show, but I talk about this often. That's one of the reasons why I loved Moonlight, because when you're trying to do shit in Hollywood and you're trying to make movies, this is something I used to hear in the early 2000s. The reason why black people aren't in as many movies is because it bounces off. The light just gets sucked in. It's hard to like black people. That's the excuse that they would always fucking make. But when you had Wesley Snipes in the goddamn 90s, they figured out, they lit the shit out of him. Why? Just like Era said, somebody wanted to suck that man's penis. And I'm fine with it. I'm perfectly fine with it. But this is the thing. When you have Moonlight was an art house film. They had no money, but they figured out how to light black people beautifully. And that's what takes us all the way full circle to Black Panther, because before he made Black Panther, he made a little movie called Fruitvale Station with like $20,000. Almost got a goddamn Oscar. He should have been nominated, and Michael B. Jordan should have won. Before he did that movie. Then he did Creed. Then he did Black Panther. That's his third film, goddamn near $1 billion budget. Why? Because he know what the fuck he doing.
Also, what I could say, and this is a conversation not just about movies, is they found people that were yes, they're great actors, but they found people that are conventionally attractive. When it comes to putting black people on a screen, and you don't want to make it a black movie, like quote unquote, that's just for black people, you have to find people that other races are going to find attractive.
Right.
And that's what all these movies do so well. You couldn't put, someone who wasn't, sexy to everybody's eye on these. It's going to be honest. Like, even when, if something I brought up with Black Panther, they don't make it overtly sexual in that movie, but every single person on screen is more than conventionally attractive.
But this is what I do have to say about this though, Era, because you're right. But this is one thing, and this is one thing I loved about Black Panther. I don't care who you were, and I even had that on my show. Whether you're black, brown, Puerto Rican, doesn't matter. White. There was somebody who you can attach yourself to, even if they were black. And for black people, there was somebody that you can attach yourself to. Because truth be told, I love my man, Forrest Whitaker. Forrest Whitaker's not easy on the eyes. Not easy on the eyes, brother. He's not. But every time you saw Forrest Whitaker on screen, he was fly as shit. He had dripped all purple. My dude with the lip, not very good looking, but had a clean ass lineup. My man was fresh, had the fresh 3-piece suit on. So even the people who weren't conventionally beautiful had something else about them. Like I'm not gonna lie to you, old girl that was in what happened? Go ahead.
It was the drip. It was
the drip. You can't.
That's all you can say is that movie. I was like
dripping.
Wakanda isn't even real, but I want to go. Like, the whole thing was drip. Like, even the 90s scene, like
everything
about, like, I can say when I watched Black Panther, they found really great ways of being, I can say, black and African, put it together, like, and they bottled it. It made everybody want that culture. Like, I was like, I'm American, and sometimes I get upset being a black American and feeling like I don't have any relation to like an African culture, Caribbean culture. Sometimes I kind of get that way because it's like I'm black. Like I do, like, my ancestors are further back, but sometimes I don't. Like, we don't have that culture. Like, sometimes,
Okay, and I've wanted to bring this up, and I hope y'all let me get this out, because this is something that once we do blow up, this is going to be talked about because it's true. Like, I'm in an argument with somebody about that. The reason why Black Panther is such an important film, not just for black people, but for history in general, is because whether Disney knew it, whether it was intentional or unintentionally, they dropped so many jewels about things that can draw all the way back to the Moors. So you have situations where this is the story as old as time. like great example. Era, her last name is Juliet. My name is, I go by Tremaine Bradley. Bradley's my middle name. My last name is Smith. All right. If you go talk to any other Caucasian or even people directly from Africa, they can tell you where their last name came from. They can draw their heritage all the way back generations. We can't. Carter Anderson cannot. Tremaine Bradley Smith cannot. Era Juliet cannot. Our name is attached to slavery. That's why it was a very important scene when Killmonger beat the shit out of what's his name? T'Challa. T'Challa. After when he beat the shit out of him, that was symbolic. And he was beaten. He was like, "Where were you all?" And they even talked about it. The reason why this shit even happened was because they left him there. He was not the villain. And this is happening today in America. That's why you have people who are of African descent, and I'm not putting them down, this is fact. That's why they hate being called African American, because they know that that is a slur and that is a complete put down. To be African American, you had to have your heritage has to come from West Africa. Why? Because it came from the slave trade. So when you look at someone like Killmonger was from Africa but didn't know his roots. Why didn't he know his roots? Because his father was killed and they left him there. He became a product of his environment. That is exactly what's happening here in America, and that's why it was so important for this movie to be made, because it wasn't black on black. It was literally heritage fighting each other. Because even T'Challa knew, he was like, "Yo, we're fighting because of our parents. That's why I can't kill you. And I can't kill you because I feel you."
That's what I was trying to say is, like, you know, me being a Black American growing up, and I'm also mixed, you know, and my last name is McGilbert, by the way. I don't go by my last name because it's an Irish slave trader name. That's my, I take that back. I know exactly where it goes from, and I don't relate to that last name. But what I'm saying is like, we were stripped of our culture. Like, Black people here, we were stripped of our culture, and you get to see, you're talking about, those scenes are so necessary and vibrant. He grew up in California, he grew up in LA, and like all
same here.
That they were stripped from. They had to build within their own, and that's what I love about Black people. That's what I love about like Africans. All of them is we built stuff from nothing. They tried to take every single thing away from us. Period. Like every single thing. They tried to make sure that we did not have our last name, our culture. We don't know who our family is, but yet out of all of that, we still built something that everybody wants.
No, agreed. And that's why it was so important to show Killmonger, even though he was the quote unquote villain. I look at this to this day. You can't tell me Killmonger. You can't tell me Thanos was the enemy. Maybe towards the end of the second film, Thanos became the enemy. But Killmonger was not the enemy. He was a product of his environment. And him becoming king is more of a testament to how strong not only the Black spirit is, but the Black American spirit. Y'all beat us. Y'all broke us down. Y'all made us build this country, and yet we still overcome.
And they tried to killing us within our people. So we're mad at African, or we're mad at Black people, or we're mad at this. It caused ascension between that. So, and that's what within every, that's what a colonizing mind is. And that's why, you know, I love the jokes, but that's literally what they do when he talks about how he was in the military, and that's how they would break down countries that they were going to rob, is you rob them of their culture. You rob them of their necessities. You rob them of, you know, the things that you would call, you rob them of every single thing until there's ascension within people. When there's nothing, when there's desolation, people become desperate and they start attacking their own culture. They start attacking their own people.
It goes even further, and I'm sorry, Carter, but you did it to yourself when you brought us on here. We melting as fuck. But it goes even further, because when you look at things like the Moors, good point, Carter's a good point. When you look at things like the Moors, even the Romans, people always say, "Oh, when you're doing something, oh, that's that white shit." Little did they know that it was Black people that taught them that. When you look at the Roman, we look at the what's it called, the Greek alphabet. The Greek alphabet was learned from the Moors. So when the Moors came through, and they're the reason why the Dark Ages started, because they went to Europe and was like, "Y'all are doing what with your shit? You are throwing it out of a window? No, you should probably, like, you know, put it into a place that goes away from you." That's what got them out the Dark Ages. But they realized that the reason why the Moors lost was because the Moors was teaching people as they went. So once they got their ass whipped out in South America, they said never again. We will never do that. So they went and got books, started burning books. You've never heard of a Germanyology, but I guarantee you've heard of an Egyptology. There's a reason when you watch things like Indiana Jones, and they had the ark was hidden in that great big bunker. That bunker exists. That's why you have things like Egyptology. We have so much inner fighting because the Moors were trying to show people that we are all one person, but they realized that no, we do not want that color, and our way of life is dying. It has been before, and goddamn it, it's on its last breath now. That's why we have someone like Trump in office, because that is the last gasp of the cis white male. They know that this is over. This is all over, and Black Panther shows that. If we can get to the point where we stop fighting each other and can point the fact that, yo, this all comes from Africa. We all come from Africa. But until then, we got to worry about what's happening and got to stop Black lives from being killed. So anyways, to Carter, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So believe it or not, this actually isn't the, we're still at the beginning of the show.
You can you can cut us.
No, yeah, but we're going to go ahead and jump into our very first topic of the show, which is not just a superhero, but a king. And that is, it's not 100% the first time, because, you know, there's also Thor, you know, who inevitably becomes king of Asgard. But actually, those two, their mythologies are very, very similar. Thor and T'Challa, like, you know, they both have dads that ain't shit. We'll get into that later. We will discuss that. But yeah, they have dads that you find out, Papa was kind of a Rolling Stone. Yeah, kind of told a couple lies here and there. But one thing that's interesting about this movie is that T'Challa, he now takes on the mantle of being the protector of his country and kind of protector of the world, becomes an Avenger, and then he also becomes the king when he loses his father. And it is interesting, you know, like in Civil War, when he loses his dad, and, you know, he goes after, like, you know, the person that kills him, and, you know, he goes through all of this revenge. It's interesting because he does that, but then he doesn't feel the need to kill Claw. You know, once he like catches Claw for, like, you know, like blowing up, like, you know, his homeboy's like parents. And you know, what do you guys think of that? Like, you know, it's just
Go ahead, Aaron.
I think what they do is they try to humanize him, which is one thing. Yeah. One thing I do like is sometimes superheroes are a little bit unattainable when you think about, like, you know, Iron Man, Captain America. It was like unattainable. You just see them as these super beings. But one thing I did like about Black Panther is he is humanized. You watch him be broken. You watch his father die. You watch him be humanized. You watch him fall in love. You watch him be in love with a woman, which is another humanizing aspect of it. You watch him care for his people. And I think that that's one way to get him to tied to his audience first and foremost, you know, so that way we're rooting for him throughout, because you see yourself within that character. You see yourself, you know, like, you know, if that was your father, if that was you in the situation, you're like, oh, that could be me. So I do see that. He's human. He's king. He's a superhero.
Yeah, no, I think just almost to kind of piggyback off what she said. I don't know if we were on this show or we were on my show, but Era brought up the fact once that all Black Panther is Lion King, and it's a good, huh?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, but it's a great point, because you got to think, even in the beginning, he was kind of like Simba, and T'Challa was the same thing. He was like, he kind of didn't fit in what they were supposed to do, because he was like, yo, something is changing. And then when he finally like got in with because the movie starts after Civil War, so now he has gone out and really seen what happens in the real world, so his mindset is a little bit different. You see what I'm saying? So like now it's not just him being Black, and it's not just Black Panther. Now you see yourself in it. Now any character, as I said earlier, you start tying yourself, and how what Era was saying, you start seeing yourself on screen, so you can see yourself not Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Chris brings up some of it happened on Agent of Shield. If you haven't watched that, definitely check that out. I think it's on Disney Plus.
It's a good show. Yeah,
it's a good. It actually is a good show. But
Yeah.
I'm very impressed that they did so many things well that I dare I say this is the greatest movie of my generation. And
Oh.
It's a big statement, and I've lived through a lot, but
It's a
with
fair
so
statement.
many layers. But that's what I'm saying. I promise you, look 10, 15, 20 years from now, you're gonna peel back so many layers of this film to be like, whether they did this on purpose or not, this is like the perfect storm of just everything falling in its place.
Well, it's just one of those movies. It definitely will be one of those movies that's talked about years from now. That's like ahead of its time, but perfect. Like, like
Right.
the movie, like I bring up The Matrix and Kill Bill often,
Yes.
because they're two movies that, as far as cinematically and stylistically, they took from past movies, and then they found ways to make it awesome, and they just did like interesting elements throughout, and it's something that, like, you don't see that in a whole lot of movies now. So
Right.
I have to go back to those movies constantly and be reminded what a real good action / drama really
Right.
is. And that's my feeling about, like, go ahead, Aria.
Well, no, one thing I was just saying is, like, there's a view. Another reason why I think that they did this concept of how you're speaking is, some of the movies within like certain universes, even like DC, Marvel, they're for the people who who are involved in the comic series. Like,
Right.
you have to know what's going on. But movies like Black Panther was, as I said, like humanized or brought these storylines in, was so everybody could watch it.
Right.
And that's a Disney thing, how they do, like, princess stories, things like that. That's a very much a thing. It has ties to, that way women feel some type of way about, like, the relationship, things like that. I mean, you have people who, like, there's family lines within it. There's
More
a bunch
relatable.
of lines and things where it makes it more available for everyone. So even if you're not a part of the MCU, this is a movie you really didn't need to follow along with to honestly understand.
Right.
And I can say that even from the first, and that's why when you say it's one of the better movies of your generation, I remember when I watched Iron Man, one of the first movies when I watched, and I was not involved in Marvel whatsoever. I was like in high school with a bunch of friends, and that movie was so, it was perfect. It had,
it was great. Right, it was.
It had political issues. You learned so much politically when you were watching it. But it had romance and all these things, and I had no clue who Iron Man or anything was. And that involved me. And this is the same thing that happens with these like cornerstone like movies. They built this so everybody could get involved, where you can figure out if you wanted to go further, but you're already at a great starting point.
No, I agree.
It made everyone care. Like, they made everyone care. One thing people don't know, some people don't know, I guess, is that Sony had an opportunity to buy all of Marvel's shit.
They only wanted Spider-Man.
for like, what was it, $10 million or something?
It was something ridiculous.
Something like, it was like a really good sale. It was like one of those sales, like they were selling Bentleys for $50 yesterday. Damn.
It's like, come on, I'll give you Bentley and I'll suck your dick, please. It was one of them sales.
It was a really ridiculous sale, but Sony was just like, no, thanks. We'll just take Spider-Man for $2 million because no one gives a shit about all these other characters.
Yep.
And
they had Tobey Maguire.
Yeah, and thank the gods. Yes, I agree, Chris. Yeah, but yeah, they really, I'm sure they're kicking themselves every single day for that.
No, but and everything is funny. Regardless of what we believe in, everything does, in my opinion, happens for a reason. You couldn't. There was no way Sony would have been able to do half.
Wouldn't have been able to handle it.
They wouldn't have. You had to just look at the times. Everything had to happen the way it did, because a lot of people forget. They think it started with Iron Man, but technically it started with Ant-Man. It was like Ant-Man was a property way before, and it was attached. I can't remember the guy's name that did Shaun of the Dead, but they were attached because they were going to create a whole like universe around the Hulk. And so like they were going to do this whole big thing, and that's why they decided to like, put that scene at the very end of the Hulk where Tony Stark walks in, and he's like talking to the general or whatever the guy's name, because they were like, oh, we're going to do this whole connected universe thing. But everything worked out perfectly with goddamn Iron Man, and we have this. But like you said though, Era, this could have been in its own thing. And that's what the old boy that made the movie, I can't remember his name, Ryan Coolidge, I believe his name is. He was like, if I do this, I have Coolidge, whatever, Coolidge, I can't remember. I mean, great guy. He said, if I do this, I have to be able to do this my way. And whoever signed off on it was smart, because there's so many aspects of this film that makes it great outside of the fact it's just a good film. You break down the characters, you break down the storyline, you break down the mythology, you break down even all the way the opening scene where everything, it started in Africa. Is like everything.
Yeah, that whole little story.
Everything.
Perfect.
And truth be told, if you look at the story of the Moors and you just decide, well, what if the Moors decided to keep all of their knowledge? You have the story of Black Panther. There's so much genius that goes into like shit that's not even said. It's just like either you get it or you don't. Like if the Moors decided when they were taking over, you know what? I'm not going to teach these people. In fact, we don't got to take over anything. We're going to watch it as it happens, and we just going to chill back here and just going to sit on all of our knowledge and all of our wealth. That's why it was so deny the inferiority. Yeah, I mean, the thing is Marvel did such a good job in showing what the Black American goes through, because it's happening right now. You can't put into words unless you're Black, unless you grew up in America. That's why it's so heartbreaking when you have these people from different countries playing these strong Black roles, but then they come out and say awful shit. Because it's like when the guy who played in 12 Years a Slave, Chiwetel Ejiofor, love him to death, but he was like, yo, I'll be honest, I did not grow up in America, so I don't understand that level of racism. I don't understand that. So, and he was honest about it, because you have to live here to feel that.
The lady who braids my hair, she's African, she's in Nigeria, and recently with everything that was kind of going on, I went to go get my hair braided a couple weeks back, and she had only lived in America for the last like 3 years, and she said she had no clue it was this bad. Like she was learning even though she's African, she was learning our American history of the ways that we were taught, and the ways that things that have happened to her, and she had no clue that this is what we've gone on. She just thought that they came, like, you come here and this is the dream, like this is already what happens, and everything that we're building is kind of the problems that we're creating. And she had absolutely no clue that, I mean, it was kind of built on we've been built on these foundations of, the literal racism is built on the foundations of us. Like she had absolutely no clue. And that's kind of, what brings up to in Black Panther, when T'Challa did have no clue what Killmonger, anything was going, and they just thought that he was, the way that he was treated, I mean, it's the way that the Americans treat Black men here. Black man with no father, he's a criminal. Black man with no father, he's aggressive, he's a criminal. And that's the way that they thought. They were like, look at him, who is he coming into our house? Like we have our heritage, we have our if they knew who their family were, all this stuff, and they're sitting here judging someone and had no clue what he had actually been through, not just with his family, because he was a part of their family and his own family messed with them, but also like within the system, he had no father, he was left alone, he was abandoned, then he was taken to, he was in the military and was completely turned into a killing machine. And that comes from the fact that he'd been abandoned. He had no sense of his, he had no emotions. He'd been left completely emotionless, had no family, ties to him. And it kind of shows the parallels between T'Challa and Killmonger. T'Challa was able to grow up with his family. His mother was still, his sister was still there. You watch his familial bonds. You watch him, how he interacts with women. He respects women. He respects his mom, his sister. You watch him, how he's a diplomat. You watch him, regardless of, everything happened to his father, he still knew how to interact with these people because of the way that he was brought up education-wise. And then you watched Killmonger, how he absolutely had nothing. He was stripped, and on a system that was built against him, he still rose up, but he had such a big, heavy chip on his shoulder because everybody had left him. His own people, his own family.
But see, and that's kind of where, go ahead, Carter.
I was going to say, everything bad about Killmonger is because of white America.
Like but it takes it a step further. It's like they're basically saying, what if great African knowledge decided, like knowingly decided not to give this knowledge to anybody, meaning that it won't even trickle down to other people who look like them.
A few days ago, the Black community, the Marvel Universe, and the entire real world lost a superhero, a king, a great actor, and a great man, all in one hit. First off, fuck cancer. But honestly, I don't want to talk about that. This video isn't about how much I miss him or how sad I am. This video is about the fact that Chadwick Boseman became one of the most notable characters of the Marvel Universe, a beacon of hope for Black youth everywhere, and achieved multiple accolades while battling a terminal illness for nearly 4 years. Folks, there's officially no excuse. Whatever you're trying to do that shit. Because you can literally have cancer and still save the world.
You see what I'm saying? And so he came up in a system that was already against Black people. But then also he got to hear stories, because remember, his dad died. It wasn't like his dad died when he was like 4. His dad died when he was like closer to like 10 or 11. You see what I'm saying? Like 9, 10 or 11. So he remembers hearing stories of the motherland. But that's the thing. A lot of Black Americans, and we say Black Americans because we understand, a lot of us understand that African American, just the term is just racist. It's just ripped in racism. But that's why a lot of Black Americans have that rage. And it wasn't until I dated someone who lived in Eritrea and broke it down for me. She said Black Panther, or they said Black Panther was such a big deal for them because the fight scene between T'Challa and Killmonger was like true. You can see somebody who's like diplomatic, trying not to kill somebody, trying to be like, hey, let's talk this out, because this is how he was raised. He was raised to be, straight down the middle. He was raised to be as kind as you can, to work with a firm hand, but try to be diplomatic. Whereas Killmonger wasn't given anything, and his father was taken from him. He even said it. I grew up, I knew that it was them because my dad told me who they were, and I saw the panther claws in my dad's chest. So in his mind, that's what he grew up with, was that, yo, you're the reason why I don't have anything. So when we fight, that's why we fight with the rage and the pain and of all of our ancestors. And a lot of Africans don't understand that. Why? Because they can trace their lineage all the way back to their original tribe. We cannot. So when Killmonger was fighting him, he was trying to kill him with every blow. That's why he picked him up, made him look at all the people from his homeland and was like, this is your king, and threw him over to show that, yo, we were fucking grinded into the ground and none of y'all came back to get us. Y'all knew where we were, but no one came and got us. So this is what we have to deal with. We can't go home because we don't have no home. So this is what we're doing now. And it was a beautiful scene, because that is exactly being Black in America today.
I feel like that fight was also a struggle within himself. Like it was more than just that fight, but I feel like it was that internal fight that he had. Am I Black? Like he was fighting the way that he's there's so much put on us, like how we're supposed to act. There's so much put on us, like who we are, like in the media, who we are. And it's just kind of watching him. He had an internal, I feel like Killmonger had this internal struggle. His dad told him when he was growing up, they're not going to accept you. They're not going to be, you can tell that there were times he was trying to, you saw him cry when he saw his father in his dream. He wanted to be who his father wanted him to be. He thought
I wanted to jump into that a little bit. So he becomes king. Killmonger becomes king. He wins the fight. He wins it real good. And then he gets buried into the area to see the land of his ancestors. And in that moment, they don't even let him in then. They don't even let him. He's
there's more to that. And I don't mean to cut you off, but there's more to that. It's not that he wasn't let in. They go to what they believe is their land of the ancestors. That's why if you look through the window, you can see Africa, but he had never been there. So his idea, that's why he came back to Oakland, because we have no home. We have to go back here. Whereas T'Challa went back to his homeland. That's why it looked like, that's why he saw his ancestors. But who did his son see? He just saw his dad. Why? Because he doesn't know of his ancestors.
And that's what I'm saying. That's what makes it so sad.
Right.
It's everything about like Killmonger is one because of white America and because they fucking left him. I think if T'Chaka if T'Chaka had like killed his brother, but then taken the boy home and explained why he had to do it. Your father was an extremist, son. Okay, that's not what we do here. If he could have explained it, he could have made Killmonger he wouldn't have been Killmonger.
Right.
He would have been a part of something. And now that guy, like, he never really got to grow up, like at least not in an ideal way, anyway.
No, and also you said something a big thing. That's why I remember when T'Challa went back when he saw his ancestors, he was full grown. But when Killmonger saw his dad, he was a child again.
Yes.
He never got to grow up. He had to fight his entire life, whereas T'Challa got to grow up, had his father there. He knew his ancestors. He knew his background. He knew his story. Like, bro, there's so much. That's why I say it's a masterpiece. And this is me being biased, but as a black male going through this shit, and I know we all black, but it's like, it's even this. Y'all been in the South. I came from California. Like, even that, like we didn't have, like, we had Jim Crow, but not like that. So it's like when I came to the South, I almost didn't even feel like I belonged because people were looking at me like, you ain't from here. And it was different.
It's a thing, especially out here in Texas. People will often like we're a very exclusive state. Like, we really believe that we're our own place. Like, we're honestly, if we could get that dome from Wakanda, we would put it all over Texas. Like,
I agree.
Texas. And yeah, we wouldn't let anyone out. You can't have our vibranium and you can't have our Whataburger.
No, you're right. That's why I feel like I belong now. I've been here for so long, and it's like, I know this place. I know this place almost better than I know Cali now. So that's why, even though I love California, I'll never leave Texas. And I almost feel like that's kind of where Killmonger got at the very end when he died. He was like, yo, it's so beautiful. It's because he finally got to let that anger go and just truly be submerged. Being here in Texas now, in the beginning, it was scary as fuck. But now that I know how my people are out here, I'm good wherever. And I feel like that.
I feel like none of y'all have mentioned the King M'Baku here.
Haven't.
It's such a disservice because he deserves his own film. He is, first of all, comedic relief, which I love because that's really what Black people usually are within movies, is create comedic relief. And they played him as, I mean, he played so much comedic relief within the show, but we're talking about someone who knew not just a super, but also a king. He loved his people too. Like, you watch how he didn't agree with the way that Wakanda was being ran. And it kind of reminds me of also going back to like how that is also dissension within Black people, not just like African and Black, but there's also dissension within like older Black people. I feel like in this new generation that comes up, like, you know, my aunts and uncles, my grandparents, they are so upset with just by the way that the younger generation carries themselves within our Black culture. Some of the things, you know, some of the things that we do, like, you know, because Wakanda was very progressive. But if you go to where M'Baku lives, they're still living very old, very desolate. I'm not desolate, I would say. Like, his kingdom is beautiful, but they're not modern.
Remember, he's outside of Wakanda. Remember, he said like,
but they were all within that. They used to be all in the same thing.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. You compare those kingdoms.
Right, I agree though.
As Wakanda was progressive.
Right.
And that's what I kind of would feel like a lot of, you know, like Black people within our culture, we're trying to be this more progressive culture. There's a lot of stuff that we do that I can say that my aunts, uncles, grandparents are not about.
Right.
Don't want to even have the discussion. It is how it is. Like, I consider like M'Baku's side old heads, but when it comes down to it, you know, when it comes down to the people that came out and they had that argument. But what I love also about M'Baku, not just because he's 6'7", thick-thighed, fine as hell, he is a family man. You see, when I love when one of my favorite scenes, and we talked about it in your show, Tremaine, is when the mother, Angela Bassett, with her beautiful white dreads, she's coming there and she's like, asking him to take up the flower, and he is so protective of someone's mother who is not his own, because he's respectful. That to me is also so like, I think that was a big scene there. It's big of him because M'Baku did fight him. You know what I mean? Like there's always been issues, but because T'Challa fought him, he looks past that. He's a king before he is the person that he is. I like that, but I think that there's a lot to be said between those two kingdoms as well. Instead of just comparing within Wakanda and America, there's so much to say between the difference between those two kings. First of all, and I also can see, once again, he's made for comedic relief, but I just see a lot of how they always talk about a toxic masculinity, or just that big black man scared to show emotion. I see those two differences that they tried to build within both of those kings as well, with T'Challa and they tried to do it based on how I feel like people would see black people. They're aggressive.
No, you're right.
This big black man, you already have your mind made up. He's scary. He's aggressive, but then you see him getting to be funny, silly. We're vegetarians. We don't eat you. I think that I love that they downplayed him. You see him at the end getting to fight for his people, being soft, compared to the way that they try to build him.
I think to piggyback off. Go ahead, Carter.
I was gonna say, I feel like we established that kind of earlier than people realize, because I've watched the movie about 4 times in the past 3 months, and the last time I watched it, I looked at that first fight that they have, where M'Baku is getting in them shots. He's whooping that ass real hard, and then finally, really all that happened there was that T'Challa isn't necessarily the stronger fighter or the faster fighter. He's just an opportunist. He sees one opportunity the entire fight to win, and he just scoops in and gets him. And then he has the opportunity to kill him, but he's like, please yield. He's like, I'd rather die. He's like, but then he says, what about your people? They need you. And for me, that's what humanizes him. He's like, I need to lose right now so that I can win for people.
That pride issue. He would have rather died than to have them. M'Baku was willing to die at first, even though he's this big, he's a huge champion. He was willing to die at first because he didn't want to be seen as a loser.
But then he was able to let that go and be strong.
This is something that doesn't come up enough, and I think it should, to kind of piggyback off of what Era was saying. People forget when the dad died, a lot of that was being ran by women. You know what I mean? Yes, you had T'Challa. He became king instantly, but he had a really attachment to his mom. You know what I mean? That's why he was so close to his sister. You got to see, almost without them saying it, it was more the metro, the more feminine, and that's what I kind of understand that, because I grew up really close to my mother too. That's why he fought so hard when it came to the women in his it's very matriarchal. I agree. It's the women hold it down, huh?
I think that's one of the good things I really do once again like about this movie is there was no heavy sexualized parts on either side. Or male or women on that, and it just showed general respect of honestly how I think that we should be. They're always sexualizing our culture regardless. There's always male or female.
Right. Yeah.
Our cultures we're always being sexualized.
All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and get into the next topic of the show. I think we'll have a lot of fun with this one. Dads in Marvel ain't shit. I think it's very true. It seems to be a rule. Yeah, dads in Marvel ain't shit, and then dads in DC die. That's a big one. They always die. That's the whole family dies in Marvel, in DC. At least in Marvel, you got a chance that maybe someone's gonna make the cut. But yeah, it seems like I was talking earlier about the parallels between Thor and T'Challa. Like they have very similar mythologies. One of them is that you find out after their dads die that they were a bit dishonest about one or two things, had a couple other things going on that, and I'm sure we can definitely get into that a little bit here. What did you guys think about like all of these things that T'Chaka kept from, like, not only from his family and from his son, but from his entire country, and I guess from the UN as well?
Go ahead, get it.
Yeah, sure.
I was like, I think I totally agree with that, especially in Black Panther. On both sides, you see Killmonger's dad being an extremist, not kind of lying to his son there, involving his son, and kind of like his son was kind of there when they were doing these deals, like, with the guns and stuff involved in the house. And then you do see straight up lot like their family doesn't straight even know that they have a nephew. He killed his own brother. It goes back to like a Cain and Abel type thing.
Yeah.
It's Black Panther really does have some I would say some daddy issues here. I'm trying to think of there was the scene kind of like with I think that why that's so interesting is because how we were talking earlier, how all of the women are kind of the warriors in this
yes.
I mean, not kind of. The women are the warriors.
They are the warriors, yeah.
And it shows you a society where, they knew that, men weren't shit in this movie. So this is kind of where the women kind of rose up and helped make the men better, I can say.
Do you think that that's why they had women as the warriors, is because they knew that if they left it to the men that they were going to kind of fuck it up?
I think that it was very progressive. I don't think that was the purpose. I think that it was to show progression.
Okay.
I'm not going to just say in Black culture, but in most, like I would say, ethnic cultures, women are made to be more of a submissive type role. The men are the male of the household. But even though you do see in a lot of, as I said, people of color relationships, they grow up with that. Grow up without a father. I don't have a father. That's common. And women are these are the super moms. These are the ladies that are, doing mom and dad job roles, but building these, they're making kings, they're making warriors. They've made a whole, they literally built a whole civilization where when it's just women running shit, you see how the relationships are completely different. You see how literally, we got the woman-like scientists here building all your weapons, building your whole bodysuit, fueling the whole country's way of living. And that's without a dad. That's without, and that's with women straight up just, she sees these beautiful, bald women out here doing shit, and she wants to be a scientist. T'Challa is a better woman because he sees, I can't think of Lupita Nyong'o's character, but he's a better man because Lupita Nyong'o's in his life. When he sees her sitting there trying to save the women, he's a better man for it. So yes, Marvel dads ain't shit. The women had to be shit with the movie in order for the country to progress. That country was 100% stronger because women were in the forefront.
It's funny because both situations were situations where the man tried to make. See, that's the thing. In both of these movies, the men respected their women, and I really appreciate that. So the women wasn't made to be like the complete submissive that we're normally used to seeing in movies, but you still had men trying to man some shit up, where it's like, I got this crazy secret and I'm not gonna let my wife know. I'm gonna handle it myself because I'm a man. I'm a man myself. I'm gonna hold myself down. And what did you do? You literally, in Thor, that whole Asgard is no more. There's no more Asgard. Asgard gone. It's gone. In Black Panther, technically, Killmonger became the king. He was the king. Yeah. And it was all because of a lie. He could have told his wife, "Look, hey, I had to kill my brother, and he was wilding. I probably shouldn't have left him there that long," because that's really what that comes down to too. They were on that mission, and the brother felt like they didn't care, because that's the thing. Remember, because he was talking to the king, and he was like, "Y'all know what's happening here, but y'all aren't living here. They are killing our people." So it wasn't that he just lied to his son. He told his son the truth. He was like, "Son, we have the technology so that we can live like kings here, and we have the technology to save lives, but they won't let us like give it out. And that's why, going back to M'Baku, why he was so dope, the reason why they left were because they were like, why are we the only ones who get to hold all this knowledge? No, fuck that. We're not gonna be a part of y'all. We're gonna go live up here. And that's why when they fought almost with every single punch, had every all kind of strength. They weren't like T'Challa and them. They were like smooth. They were trying to be like a cat. Whereas when M'Baku was swinging, he and that's why when they were hitting people, when they were fighting, they had them big ass sticks and they was knocking people out by the like tens, because they were of the mindset of, yo, we shouldn't be holding all this knowledge too. And this goes back to what Era said earlier. You have fights going within every race, but especially in the Black race, where it's like there was probably Africans, people in Africa who were like, yo, for years, we know they over there. We have the ships. We have all of this. We can go over there and free them. And other people were like, hey, that ain't our problem no more. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what Wakanda was. It's like, hey, what's happening in the rest of the world? They not on us.
Two other Marvel dads that I always like to say, since we're talking about Marvel dads ain't shit.
Star-Lord's dad?
Hulk's dad.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
well, he put him in the right.
I mean, he created a literal monster, and I think I mean literally.
Literally a monster.
But Iron Man and Hulk's dad also kind of show what happens with, I would say, toxic masculinity. Fathers who don't like to communicate with their children, abusive type relationships. You go back in Civil War and you watch how the father regarded Robert Downey. Why can't I name his name? Iron Man's character. You watch how he couldn't even tell his son, "I love you." You watch that, and that does kind of build this character where they're always prove they're better than their dad. That they're always trying to be better, and there's really no emotion into what, like, nothing is good enough for them. That's why, I mean, at the end of it, why Tony can't stop fighting, like why when his wife is like, Pepper Potts, obviously at the end of it, when she's like, they wanted to have this life, they have a kid and all this stuff. At the end of it, he's still fighting to show his dad he's a better person. That he's literally still fighting to show that, like, I'm better than you. I built all this stuff than you. I have a heart. I care about, he fought for that. And it's also the same thing I can say, about the Hulk. The Hulk watched his dad literally abuse his mom. He watched that. He was the subject of abuse. And that's why he's so scared of his power. He doesn't like to get angry. He doesn't want to, why he hates his power, because it comes from a place of him, how he watched his father abuse his mom, how he watched that abuse stuff happen to him. He doesn't like being himself because it comes from a place of hurt. And he tries to use his anger to, and he tries to use that to, be better, better person, be better than that, always better as father. But at the end of it, all of these Marvel characters are showing you what, I would say, happens when you don't have that, aren't able to have that communication, when you aren't able to just be open with your familial unit.
Hey, but Era, this is true too, because this actually goes a step further what you were talking about with Tony's dad, with Howard. That's why Tony gravitated so much to Peter Parker, because Peter's parents, before they passed away, Peter's dad was the exact same way, but he was just all in with the smarts. But it was just like he didn't tell no one shit. And just at the very end, it was just like, hey, y'all, we gotta go. Well, what happened? We'll talk about it later. It's a job that I got and it went south. I'm sorry I didn't tell y'all, but we got to leave now. You see what I'm saying? And the same shit happened with Star-Lord. That's why Star-Lord, people to this day, I can't be mad at Star-Lord, because just like Killmonger, Star-Lord's technically like 10 years old. He never got to grow up. One, he didn't get to grow up. And the whole time he was growing up, his mom got cancer. We end up learning was because of his dad. That's kind of fucked up too. And then also, he when his whole childhood, his mom was dying. Then his mom died. Then the what's it called, the spaceship came and took him. That's why it was beautiful, where he was like, yeah, that might be your daddy, that it might be your daddy, but that ain't your pappy, boy. I love that shit. It almost like choked me up.
That was a really beautiful scene.
It was a beautiful scene, because it was like, hey, I know I didn't look like you, and I know I couldn't give you exactly what your father, because we don't see each other the same, but I showed you love. And that was true. He showed him love. He even though he was killing everybody else, he was like, hey, look, this is compassion for someone that you love. That's why I was, even though we're not even talking about that, I'm sorry, but it's true. Errol brings up a good point. Pretty much every person in the MCU has a shitty relationship with their father.
We'll be back tomorrow with part 2 at the same time and same place.